We'll get to that in a moment, Reg. But we lost a great friend yesterday, Dr. Jack Ramsey. I know that you wanted to give some thoughts about Dr. Jack.
Well, obviously, with all eyes on the Commissioner Adam Silver and obviously our game with his press conference at 2 Eastern, I just want people hopefully not to forget we lost a great basketball mind. My thoughts and prayers go out to the Ramsey family. I just want to say, Coach, thank you so much for believing in me. 175 skinny kid from Riverside, California. You took a chance and drafted me with the Pacers, so thank you for everything.
And I remember when he drafted you, Dr. Jack got criticized in Indiana because they didn't know if your body could even hold up in the NBA, dealing with all of these big guys. They even wondered about how you ran. Like, you ran with such a different gait. So I remember Dr. Jack getting criticized for using a first-round pick on you.
He was the guy that innovated for me personally about constantly staying in motion. He was a huge fitness guru, marathons, he was a huge bicyclist, and he told me, with my body size, you should always stay in motion. Don't ever stop. Conditioning will be your key in your longevity in the NBA, and I adopted that from day one, and that's why when you watch old clips of me of always running and trying to run my opponent into the ground, it was because of Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Great man. And
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's rare that you can live on this earth for 89 years and not have an enemy. But he somehow did it. So
he's one of them.
Huh?
He's one of them.
Yeah, but it's rare. It's
very rare.
Let me start with the Pacers before we get to Donald Sterling. I'm watching last night, your old team, Reg. They're down 30 at home to the Hawks. Now, they made it respectable, but what the hell is going on?
I, for one, am shocked. I was shocked at that game. There was no effort, lack of motivation. It was almost like it was game 20 in November. There was no sense of urgency. Game 5 is the swing game when the series is tied 2-2. And it looked like the Pacers were really going through the motion. And as a lifelong 18-year Pacer fanatic, I was a little dismayed.
I got Roy Hibbert on the bench as a cheerleader. He put up the same numbers I did last night, Reg.
Well, interesting. It'll see what Frank Vogel does in Game 6 in Atlanta, because all along people have been saying he needs to go small, and that small lineup got them back into the ballgame. They just couldn't get over the hump. Look, there's no way. It's hard to come back from 30 points.
Yeah.
And I think they'll go with a smaller lineup in Game 6.
All right, you got your game tonight. How do you prepare for this game tonight with the Clippers hosting Golden State as a broadcaster?
Well, number one, you still approach it as an X's and O's. You know, what team is going to make the most adjustments from game to game, obviously. But I don't think we've ever seen this, probably ever. It's a unique situation. Obviously, there's more on the line here because you don't know when you arrive at the game. You've been hearing that the riot squad is going to be out there and there are going to be protests. It's a very unique situation that, as a broadcaster for Kevin Harlan and myself and David Aldridge, that we're approaching. I'm very fortunate to be on the game, but it's a little surreal because it's a game that I love, and for these comments to come out now during the height of the playoffs, it's a very difficult situation.
I'm just wondering what the players do, because now you're at home. It's supposed to be a home court advantage.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to feel that way tonight.
No, I don't think so as well. And usually, whatever problems that are going on in anyone's personal life, the basketball court has always been a safe haven, and I'm not quite sure tonight will be that safe haven. I think you will have your hardcore Clipper fans come out and support, obviously, the team. But people need to understand that it's easier said than done when we are on the sideline saying what we should do.
Yeah.
When you're in the middle of this as a player and as a coach, Doc Rivers and his team, when you guys have banded together all year to try to accomplish one thing, and that's win a championship for one another and for your fans. You really play for your fans. You don't play for your owner. And it's such a tough situation for us to say, well, if I was them, I wouldn't play. You've done this not only your whole career, but for this year, you guys have come together to try to one common goal, and that's win a championship. So right now, if this was a regular season game, I probably could see these guys not playing. But in the middle of the playoffs, and going against an arch rival and a nemesis and a team you don't like in the Clippers, it's very difficult now to tell these guys to pull back and make a stand. It's very difficult.
Reggie Miller joining us. He's calling tonight's Warriors-Clippers game at 10:30 Eastern on TNT. Mark Jackson was on yesterday, your former teammate and good friend. He said that if he were Doc Rivers, he could not coach this team next year if Donald Sterling is associated with the team. Do you agree?
Look, all these things are circling in the air right now, and I would not fault Doc Rivers if he walks away. I would not fault Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. At year's end, they asked to be traded. This is a very difficult situation to be in because as a player, we know that the owner, and I'm not going to mention his name because it's going to be mentioned a million times from now until this press conference, we know he pays our bills. We know he writes the check. But we also put a lot of money in his pockets as well. And as a player, with any organization, you want everyone to be all in. And when you're going for that one common goal, which is a championship, everyone needs to be in. Everyone needs to have their hands in the middle of the foxhole going for this common goal. And it just doesn't seem like the owner was never really all in. It's more of a servitude as opposed to everyone being all in. And I could not fault Doc Rivers if he wanted to walk away. But then again, I mean, how do you do that? Everyone has binding contracts. This is just a mess right now, Theodore. It truly is a mess. And I'm not quite sure what the commissioner is going to say at 2 o'clock, but I think this is just the tipping point, really.
Well, I'm also wondering about when you hear those comments, because it's one thing, I can hear those comments and say, obviously those are wrong. Here's somebody who has to be delusional. But you, as an African American, hearing that,
how long has he thought of this, and how long has he thought of his employees going all the way back? He's on the team 33 years?
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah.
How long has he thought of this? And not only that, the people surrounding him. How long have you thought of this? How long have you known this? That's why this is my opinion, and I agree with Magic and the rest. He can't own a team. He really can't. Not only can he not own a team, I don't want anyone in his family owning a part of this team. They've got to start new with the Clippers.
Well,
it's hard for me to, have his wife come out and say, "I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist." Well, is that your husband's voice on the tape? Well, I don't know about that. You've been married for this man for 50 years, and you don't know if that's his voice.
Yeah.
I would have been more on Mrs. Sterling's side if she would have been like, "This dude is crazy. That's his voice. I'm out of here." But to say, "I'm not a racist" twice to Lisa Salters, and then be asked, "Is that your husband's voice on the tape?" and then backtrack. I know there's legal ramifications. I understand that. But I would have been a little bit more on her side with her saying, "Nah, this dude is whack."
Who wins this series?
Wow. I do think the Clippers rally tonight. I think they were, even though Doc said it in Game 4, he had the best game plan, but the guys mentally just weren't focused. I agree with him on that. There was just too much going on. I think they find and refocus for tonight. I think this is going to be a great game because I think the Warriors now have found their shooting touch. They have gone small with Draymond Green. They're going to be more athletic. It's all about the Warriors making shots, and really it's all about the Clippers refinding that focus. I think the first 5 minutes is going to be huge for the Clippers to see if they found that focus. I think the crowd will be energetic. I do think it'll be a sold-out crowd, and I think they'll be energetic, and I think that will move the Clippers to win Game 5.
But finding that focus, you were great at compartmentalizing. Once you got on the court, you got in the moment, but this is something different.
Yeah,
you could have.
This is a life-changing moment. This is not a game-to-game adjustment. This is bigger than the game, and that's why it's funny. A lot of people are saying I would not play the game. It's easier said than done when we are on the sidelines. We're on the sidelines commenting. We're not in the middle of it.
But I can't punish my fans. That if I don't play, I'm punishing these
exactly.
fans.
And when I say as a team, you play for each other, your teammates, and you really play for the fans because the fans are what motivates you to succeed, and they've always been in your corner. So that, to me, that's why I think the players have to play. It's just a difficult situation when you look at your paycheck and the guy that's signing your paycheck is a bigot and a racist. It's very difficult to be all in when you know this.
Did you ever talk to Donald Sterling?
I mean, I've had conversations in passing, but I've never...
You don't know him?
I don't know him. No, I don't know him very well.
Well, must-see TV coming up tonight, Reg.
It really will. It's again, it's a great question. Like, how do you approach this from a broadcasting standpoint? It's very unique because you want to focus in on the X's and O's and the adjustments that that Doc Rivers is going to make with that small lineup from Mark Jackson. But there's bigger things out there in this game that's probably going to be, and it's going to be interesting to hear what Adam Silver has to say. Really, it is.
Well,
it really is.
And you know what? It's not one of those moments as a broadcaster you go after it, you let it come to you. So the fact that you don't know how this plays out before, during.
That's the good thing. You know, you want to react as opposed to knowing, and that's how as a player, I was more of a reactionary. I never knew everything going into a game. That's the beauty about sports. It's the unpredictability of things. You never know.
Have fun tonight.
I will try, Theodore.
Yeah.
I will try.
Well, this will be the biggest test of your broadcasting career. No pressure, Reg.
None at all.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's Reggie Miller, Hall of Famer.